when I started doing martial arts, I enjoyed training, but then when I started to compete, I stopped enjoying it as much. Especially that happened, especially with Muay Thai, because it became a chore, a job. Like every time after work, you just go training, and it's not about enjoy your training. It's about you have to train out. So it's not about I want to. It's about I have to.
Do you think it comes down to trying to find a balance with that, where maybe it's a case of where I want to I have to? Because when you start making it into more of a thing and you start having to do things because you've committed to things that allow you to do your hobby, yeah, which
Mm-hmm.
is great, but then it takes away from the reason why I wanted to do it, and that's because there was no expectation of it. It was just doing because I loved it. Do you think then it's important to sort of, for those that are maybe in that position where it's kind of asking yourself, what's the expectation that you want to have with this interest? Is this something that you want to do full time or turn into a business, or is this something that you just want to just keep pretty chilled?
Mm.
Like what led you to wanting to do competitions in the first place?
That's a good question, and I'm still trying to figure this out. I think part of it was the cloud. Part of it was everyone in my gym was competing at that time.
Mm.
And I wanted to. Okay, so the biggest part was because I was really, really afraid to fight.
Okay.
And I think, and at that time I was like, I I was already deep into self development. I'm in a bigger rabbit hole right now, but but at that time I was already deep, and I was watching Goggins, and he said that the thing that you fear the most, you have to lean into that. So I think I started to lean into that competition and feed that demon inside of me. And once I did a couple of these fights, and I wasn't afraid of jiu-jitsu comps. It felt quite, it felt like a role.
Yeah.
You still feel a bit nervous because you don't want to lose, but it wasn't the fighting nervousness, I would say. But when I went to Thailand and I had to fight, that's when I experienced that fear, I guess. So yeah, part of it was just to lean into the fear and see how you manage it, how you manage your emotions. So it was always about that, to be honest. But um, I think I drifted away. What was the question?
No. It's just really interesting. It's like what led you to wanting to do competitions anyway, if it was already a hobby. And I suppose it's kind of looking at your hobbies and interests of, well, if I'm really good at it and I really enjoy doing it, why not do it and why not take it further?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's always that feeling where you could just be like, yeah, why not? It could turn out. And I think that's the other thing is as well is you might try things and end up not liking them, and that's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you were like did competitions, why not try it? You might turn around and be like, do you know what? Actually, competitions aren't for me. Maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe I just want to just do the Muay Thai in the gym and just spar and be with my mates. And then you're like, cool. I've got a way more kind of better understanding of things, of how I sit in this interest of mine.
I think that's where I'm leaning right now, to be honest. It's so interesting because that's what I want to figure it out in 2024. Am I fighting? Why am I fighting? And we're having this conversation right now, and I'm always having this in my head. So it's a good opportunity to vent out, I guess, a bit. I guess that's where I'm leaning right now. I'm starting to question myself. Why am I fighting? Because it's I enjoy the training aspect of it and the discipline of it, but I'm not sure if I'm enjoying the fighting aspect of it anymore. It's just I feel like I've got more interests, and when I'm immerse myself into that, I just forget everything else, and I don't have time to spend with my family. I don't have time to spend with my girlfriend. I don't have time to spend on my podcast. I'm not as good at my work. I'm not as good at any of the things.
It's like it turns into this sacrifice of other things to pursue this thing, when actually it was just an interest and a hobby, and it doesn't need to be this big
Yeah.
thing.
And I think now it's more like about, it's part of my personality as well, because when I started I wanted to become um so as you said, when I'm getting into something I'm getting all in, and it's none of this, oh, I'll just do this and
Yeah, it's no
I'll see how
joke.
it happens.
It's no fucking around.
Just yeah, it's just all in. And when I moved from singing to martial arts, I was like, that's it, I'm all in. I want to become a professional fighter. And that was basically,
So there was this professional element.
that was why I wanted to compete so much and get that experience. And because I started quite late, I started at 21, so I was like, I started to calculate, like, I'm going like 5-6 years to turn pro, and then from pro I'll go like 5 to 6 years again to get to the UFC. I mean, I was always thinking about these things, right? But then slowly you start to realize that even though you love that thing so much, the aspects of it is it's not what you like. And I think first time when I realized that was before COVID. I was preparing for the Muay Thai fight, and it got cancelled literally a week before my fight because COVID hit. Um, and that was probably that was the first time when I was preparing for like a show, quite better show than I used to do in the past, because before that was like tournaments and that, and it was really really hard. But I was like, I'm not really enjoying it anymore. It became a chore, and then afterwards I changed gyms and I started to fight again. I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying it now. And in Thailand, I really liked it. And then I came back and tried to do it again. And I was like, I'm not sure if. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. So it's really really hard for me to answer. But I think
Yeah.
I'll have the answer in this year.
Yeah, man. Then again, it's hard because where you've got this expectation of when you were going in being like, maybe this is something I do want to do, transitioning from singing, but it's also a hobby and interest at the moment because I haven't turned it into this thing. But there's a decision made where it's like, do I go all in on this thing? Am I prepared to sacrifice other things in order to go all in on this thing?
Yeah.
Or am I happy for this just to be a part of something where I'm still able to do it, but there isn't this level of like expectation or all in on this? Like, you can still become an amazing fighter and not compete and sacrifice all these things and like,
that's the thing. I'm thinking maybe I should just look at it as hobby and enjoy my training instead of getting there and losing my brain cells
that
every
as well.
training, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm not. I'm laughing, but that's true. Like those sparring sessions, is just you get out and you start to question it. Like,
what am I doing this for?
What am I doing this for? Yeah.
Do I love this because I love the elements of why I got interested in this sport in the first place?
Yeah.
Or do I want to attach more meaning to it by making this something where I want to be known for it?
Exactly.
And yeah, that's a tough decision to make for anyone that's making that decision, whether it's finding a hobby that's now got a business opportunity behind it. Like originally, yeah, exactly. Maybe it'd be a case that, 2-3 years down the line, this becomes bigger, and then all of a sudden it becomes a bigger inherent part of our lives where we spend more time on this than we do other things that we enjoy, and we're like, actually, do we just prefer doing it where it's just you and me having a chat and we get to spread our views to the world? Or
regardless, we're doing that, right? Like that time when we met in the coffee shop. Last time we recorded, we went to the coffee shop and I even told we have to have a camera. It would be good to have cameras because we had such a
great conversation.
Great conversation, yeah.
That's how I always answer it as well when people are like, how did you start it? I just like, it literally started because I went for coffee and I was like, if only microphones and cameras were attached to that conversation. And then I was like, boom.
Yeah.
Found someone that, because I always had the interest that I wanted to do something like this.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
And I always knew that I wanted to start something, but I think doing a podcast business is hard. Like, there's lots of podcasters that I look and see that talk about it, and they're like, it's not an easy thing when you take it past a certain threshold, it
Yeah.
starts to become, more intense when it comes to finding more research out about a guest, reading the books on the guest, whatever it is that you've got coming in. Even doing the research now, it's like
Takes time.
2-3 hours out of your week or 2 weeks for us sometimes, where it's hard to dedicate time, focus time, just to sit down and go, right, I'm focusing on this because I want to do it. But
Yeah.
when you get pulled to other things,
Mhm.
you have to really manage that time. Plus
Exactly.
day-to-day shit, spending time with your friends, girlfriend, talking to your mum on the phone, doing business, whatever it is, work. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to carve out that time. And sometimes you have to sacrifice
You sacrifice
other
things for
things.
the else.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then you start looking at, okay, what do I need to cut out? What are bad habits? Okay, I don't need to sit on TikTok for an hour. I definitely don't need to watch TV or a movie. Maybe that's the time
Yeah.
I'm going to be using it this now. But then you're like, oh, but I like watching a film. But then it's like, yeah, well, what do you want?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's all about trade-offs, I think. And when you look at hobbies and interests, it's about, what do I want to trade off more of my time? I think time is not it's not seen as important as it is. Like, I view time like I do money. It's, if I lose money, I'm so pissed off. Like, if you had 50 quid on you right now in cash, and let's say you dropped it on the tube,
Yeah.
you'd be so gutted.
Yeah.
Like, I would be. It doesn't even matter how much money I'd make, I would still be pissed off at that. But I view time as that. If I waste time, I'm like, I get so annoyed with myself.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I don't think I view it as serious as you do. I'm thinking of.
I remember growing up with my dad, it was interesting because he always used to stress about how much time he wasted.
Mm.
And I think I always used to view that as like, I don't want to waste my time because he does not see that. So I used to like, now I'm very much conscious of my time and who I spend it with and how I spend it. And like, I don't know, man, like, the last thing I want to do sometimes is, if someone, like, yeah, I know it's so important to like see friends and go for a drink or like go to the pub, but like sometimes I'm sat there and I'm like, this is a waste of time.